Markous couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. Even after he and Max left the park, the memory of the catacombs clung to him like a shadow. That night, as he lay in bed, he stared at his umbrella. The black smoke had faded, but something felt different about it, like it had absorbed part of the catacombs' darkness. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew through his room. Markous sat up. His window was closed. The door was shut. So where had that wind come from? Tap, tap, tap. His heart pounded as he looked toward the closet. The door, which had been closed, was now slightly open. He swallowed. Was something inside? Taking a deep breath, Markous grabbed his umbrella and slowly walked toward the closet. He reached out, fingers trembling, and pulled the door open. Nothing. Just his clothes and some old boxes. He let out a nervous laugh. I'm just imagining things. But then, a whisper. Markous, you never really left. The room shifted. His floor turned to stone, his walls melted into cold, damp rock. The air smelled of dust and old bones. Markous spun around. His bedroom was gone. He was back in the catacombs. No, he whispered. This isn't real. But it felt real. The darkness pressed in around him. And then footsteps. Slow, steady, coming toward him. From the shadows, the cloaked figure emerged. But this time its hood was slightly raised, revealing two glowing blue eyes. I told you, it said. The shadows are not done with you. Markous gripped his umbrella tightly. Why am I back here? The figure studied him for a moment before answering. Because you are marked now. The catacombs have chosen you. Markous shook his head. I don't want to be chosen. I just want to go home. The figure took a step closer. Then you must face the truth. Before Markous could ask what that meant, the walls around him rumbled. The stone cracked and crumbled, revealing hundreds of glowing eyes hidden in the darkness. The whispers returned, louder this time. Stay with us. You belong here. The catacombs have claimed you. Markous's breath came fast. His heart pounded. The shadows closed in. And then, a sudden light burst from his umbrella. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the glow. Markous gasped. What is this? Cloaked figure smiled faintly. You are stronger than you know, Markous. If you wish to escape, you must learn to use the light within you. Markous looked at his umbrella, now glowing with a soft golden light. He took a deep breath, raised it high, and shouted, Leave me alone! A bright flash erupted from the umbrella, washing over the catacombs. The shadows screamed, melting away. The walls trembled, the ground split open, and whoosh! Markous bolted upright in bed, gasping for air. He was back in his room. No catacombs. No shadows. Just his normal, safe bedroom. His umbrella sat beside him, looking completely normal. But deep in his heart, he knew this wasn't over. 'Cause when he looked at the mirror across the room, he saw it. A faint shadow standing behind him. Watching. Markous froze. The shadow in the mirror didn't move. Didn't flicker like a normal reflection would. Just stood there, slightly behind him, its shape dark and shifting like smoke. His hands clenched into fists. I know you're there, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The shadow's head tilted slightly, as if amused. Then it moved. Not in the mirror. In real life. A cold shiver ran down Markous's spine as the darkness behind him stretched, reaching out toward him. Without thinking, he grabbed his umbrella and spun around, swinging it through the air. Swoosh! The shadow recoiled, hissing as if in pain. slithered backward into the corner of his room, its form twisting into the darkness. Markous panted, his heart hammering. He had fought off shadows before, but that was in the catacombs. Why were they here now? Then a voice, soft but clear, echoed in his head. "The catacombs have marked you." The cloaked figure's words. Markous gulped. "This isn't just a dream, is it?" he whispered to himself. The shadow in the corner twitched. Slowly, it melted into the floor, disappearing as if it had never been there. Markous let out a shaky breath. He wasn't safe anymore. The next day, Markous barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw glowing eyes in the dark. He stayed under his blanket, gripping his umbrella like a sword. By morning, he felt exhausted, but he had to go to school. As he walked down the hall, Max waved at him. "Dude, you look like you fought a monster last night." Markous forced a laugh. "Yeah, something like that." Max raised an eyebrow. "Wait, seriously? What happened?" Markous hesitated. Should he tell Max the truth? That he had fallen into an underground world, fought shadows, and was now being hunted by something unseen? Max would never believe him. So instead, Markous shrugged. Just a weird dream. But deep inside, he knew this was far from over. 'Cause as he passed by a classroom window, he saw it again. A shadowy figure standing at the edge of the schoolyard. Watching him. Waiting. And this time, it had glowing blue eyes.